okay. Well, I wanted to get fixed. I heard you say, you know, you went and you said, fix me now. And I went and they x-rayed everything and they said, Billy, there's nothing wrong with your hand. But I knew there was something wrong with my hand. And if there's nothing wrong here, and he looks at me and he goes, maybe you're having a psychological problem, you're going through tough times in your life, maybe this is all psychological. I thought, wow, that's weird. Well, I'm going to start doing massage therapy and rolfing and acupuncture, you know, having all the needles all over. I thought that was pretty cool, actually, being covered in needles. And I tried everything, qigong and meditation, and 2 years went by trying all these different therapies, and all the while this is getting worse. And I'm starting to cancel performances. And if I did do a performance, I wouldn't play that last piece, no way. I was literally editing, I'm starting to edit myself and finding myself as an artist, continually trying to hide a problem that I didn't understand. I literally thought I was going crazy. And finally I thought, oh my God, it's getting so bad. There's got to be like a tennis ball sized tumor in my head. Let's go find it. So I went to a neurologist, thinking that I was going to get that news. And she looked at me and she diagnosed me in 5 seconds. Wow. She said, I know exactly what you have. You have it's a poorly recognized, not very well known, but highly prevalent disorder called dystonia. I thought dystonia sounds like a country in Eastern Europe, man. But I was relieved to have somebody tell me I did have something. Because here I thought there was, you know, I was going crazy. So it was a relief. But at the same time, she finished off the sentence saying it's incurable. And it's going to get worse. And you really better think about what you want to do with your life. And I walked out of that office, and you know what I did? I went right into denial. Sure. I went home and I said, she doesn't know what she's talking about. I'm going to practice more, I'm going to play more, I'm going to do what I've been doing and just try to work my way out of it.
Yeah. It didn't happen.
No. She was right. The symptoms got worse and worse, and one day I remember just looking at myself in the mirror and I said, you know what? I'm a broken down guitar player. That's what I am. And
what you did?
I got real with myself. I had to get real with myself. I had to accept. I went to the Mayo Clinic, actually. I needed a little more reassurance that I had gotten a second opinion. And they gave me the same diagnosis. They said that's what it is. And finally it sank in, and I realized I'm going to have to just accept that that's really what's going on. I have to get real about my situation. And you know, something about the glass just now just really hit home with me, because I thought I was done at that moment.
Sure. And
I spent a long time. I spent a couple of years thinking I was done. And when you're done, you also have an opportunity to start over. And it took me a couple of years. I'm ashamed actually to say how long it took me to realize that the end of everything for me, if I'd just gotten a hold of this concept quicker, it would have been, boy, this is the end, but it could be the start. I can start over with something. And what I decided was to start over as a left-handed guitar player, get my music.
Well, that's an amazing decision. Well, also in line with the fact, I think you shared with me that the doctors told you something about.
I start the process of relearning. It's a lot of work. You sound terrible. Nobody sounds good when they first start an instrument. That's kind of a neat thing in a way, that we all start at this place where we don't sound very good, but it's hard to go back to that place when you've been kind of at the top of your game. But I battled through it, and then I got the news from the doctors that they said, Billy, we should have told you this right away, but you're at like a 50% higher risk that you're going to develop this in your other hand since you've had it once. So, if you do get your career back, don't wait. If there's something you wanted to do with your music, you better do it now. And that has really stuck with me every day that I have. You know, I feel pretty good right now, and I'm going to really really appreciate that fact and love the fact that I'm back doing what I love to do.
Well, how do you come back? I mean, you had to start over. I mean, you played the guitar this way. Now you're playing the guitar this way. How do you do that? How do you go through what happened?
Well, first you have to allow yourself to sound. For me, it was about allowing myself to be a beginner again, to not be an expert at that moment, but to be a student, to go back to being a student. I'm going to learn this. I'm going to become, I might be the only guitar player any of you ever met that had to learn the guitar 2 times. It just, what do you mean you had to learn it 2 times? Well, yeah, I did. I had to start over. And then it was about letting go of doing, when you do something over and over again and it doesn't work, what do they call that? That's like the definition of being kind of insanity. You expect a different result. Well, I finally got to the point where I was done being insane. I was going to practice something new and look for a positive result. So it was hours and hours, in between raising my kid. I mean, I was grabbing my guitar, I'd play the guitar every chance I could, 20 minutes in the morning, a couple hour block time after the kids got off to school, to where I got most of my work done. Was in that,
You're a single dad with 2 boys.
Right. So, man, I love the school year. September to June. I love it because then I can really dedicate my morning to really digging into the guitar when they're at school.
But it wasn't an hour. It wasn't 30
No. It was 4 and 5 hours a day for about 3.5 years.
Yeah, these guys need to hear that. Well, because one of the challenges that a lot of professionals in our industry have is they think that this is they think you're working when you're playing. And they don't realize when you're playing, you're playing.
Right.
And the work was the 3 to 4 hours a day focused on what you needed to do so you could play. So they go out and they show real estate and list real estate and they think that's work. Well, that's actually the play.
That's like the performance.
That's the performance.
Yeah, that's the show.
Yeah, you're with the customer. The question is all the things you had to do in order to get to the show. And they just want to go to the show.
Yeah, no.
They don't realize it.
If you go to a show of a person who hasn't done the work beforehand, you're pretty much headed for the door pretty quick, especially with solo guitar.
Well, that's what happens with a lot of these guys. They get shown the door quick. They don't get called back for lots of performances, and they don't get to stay long for the performances they try to have.
Well, then you all understand what it's like to be a musician. It's the practice.
Well, they didn't realize when they got up this morning they were going to have that aha, but it's one of the ahas you and I wanted to have.
Well, it's a reality in the music business. It's a very, very competitive business, and it's immediate. Most people make up their mind in seconds, whether they like what you do or don't like what you do. With music, it's not really an essential item. So you better be good if you're trying to sell a non-essential item out there. So it's competitive.
Well, the interesting thing for me, I love music, and I think it is essential. But I get what you're saying. For me, the blessing is that had you not made that decision and gone through that effort to do what you're doing, we wouldn't have you today. We wouldn't have heard you this morning. We wouldn't have the music. None of that would exist because you would still be back on the couch, or you'd be teaching music theory, or you would be. You were telling me that you can go to YouTube and there are lots of people that try to do what Billy does. I mean, all you have to do is just go to YouTube and type it in, and you'll see kids in all kind of ages trying to be this man. Well, there's only one of this man. And if you decided to stop, if you had decided that you'd been beaten, then we'd have been done. Yeah. And most of these people who may not have ever heard of you before this morning would have never have had the blessing of hearing what you just did.
I came pretty close to giving up, you guys. I mean, I had a little fortune cookie aha moment. Like, I really think God can speak through fortune cookies. I do, and because in the middle of this thing, especially after they told me that this other hand could develop this, because the problem is the fingers just curl up uncontrollably. And as you watch me play, that's the position that I actually am using. This hand, my symptoms are as bad right now as ever. But I get this fortune cookie right at this point. I'm going to quit, and the fortune